Hi, I'm John. I'm the owner of Delightful Dog Training out of Newark, Ohio. And today I want to cover the subject of picking toys for your dogs, when to give them certain toys, when not to, what could be problematic, and how to stay safe. We're going to break this down into several different sections. Those sections are going to include self-play, enrichment, and interactive toys. So we're going to try to keep it kind of short. It's easy for me to go down a long rabbit hole with this. We're going to try to make this very, very easy for you to make good choices. So this is going to be a series of videos that are going to be put into a playlist that you can watch to cover making good choices on toys for your dogs. So the first subject that we're going to cover is self-play. So I'm going to hit on some of the things that I like, don't like, and how to stay safe with those. So with self-play, these are toys that I don't necessarily play with my dog. These might be toys that I have out in the yard or have in certain sections of my house to keep my dog amused, okay? And so one of the first ones that I'm gonna cover is the Jolly Ball. This is one of my favorites. So if your dog likes to herd or push toys around, there are various sizes of Jolly Balls, and the teaser ball is my favorite. I'm going to show a picture of that in just a second. It is hard thermodynamic plastic, so it can take a beating, and really most dogs aren't going to break these. I don't really have to worry about a whole lot. Yes, if your dog really chews it up at some point, you might have to replace it, but these are toys that I generally find very, very safe for our dogs. So I'll show a couple different kinds of Jolly Balls, and that is definitely one I'm a big fan of, okay? So we're going to continue with going into the next one, which for self-play, for me, are going to be two items like Nylabones or bent bones. The important part about the Nylabones, bent bones, or any kind of chew bone like these is obviously there's going to be the edible ones and there's going to be the ones that are plastic, meant for just chewing. They're not really meant for ingesting. These are made of, typically there are some rubber ones, but primarily they are hard plastic. When your dog chews at it, it should shave off into very small shavings of that plastic that are easily digestible. So it's not something I have to really worry about the dog ingesting. It passes easily in the system. But there are some things that you want to know. The first one is make sure that you're picking the right toughness level. So most of these companies are going to put different toughness levels of chewing on the packaging and designate whether it's for a small dog, medium-sized dog, or large dog. So for example, your Nylabones are going to have like a toughness rating at the bottom, and they're going to have a picture of the size of the dog. So like I think it's a Westie and a Golden Retriever. There might be a German Shepherd or Rottweiler on one of them. So just make sure that you're looking for that, and then observe your dog. Is your dog able to get off large pieces? Are they able to chew off chunks? If this is the case, this is no longer a safe toy for your dog, and you need to upgrade to something that's a little bit more durable. The same thing, there are teething chews, there are teething rings. These are going to be a little bit softer for a puppy that's just going through teething, maybe a small puppy, small dog, or light chewer. So make sure, that you're looking at the different toughness levels and then the size. We don't want anything the dog can choke on. The last thing I want to hit on with Nylabones is because plastics typically expand and contract in different kinds of weather, it's important that we don't leave Nylabones out in freezing weather or in hot weather for long periods of time. These kind of things can cause our Nylabone to become brittle and actually break into shards, which could be really, really dangerous. Okay, we don't want that choke hazard. We won't want our dog getting their mouth cut, anything like that. So please don't leave those outside in extended periods of weather, just simply because that does break down the structural integrity and it doesn't make it safe anymore. Last thing, if your dog is chewing on that and they've shaved it down into a sharp object or a small enough object that they could potentially ingest and choke on, please make sure you go ahead and remove it and replace it. Okay, so those are my considerations with most of your Nylabones, Bintabones, or anything comparable. I'm going to show a couple pictures of those, but it's really, really important that you do look at the style. I know Bintabone did end up pulling one from the market a while back because of the shape of it. It kind of had like an opening like this, and dogs were actually getting their jaws stuck in it. So I don't recommend anything with like a loop small enough that looks like your dog could get its teeth or jaw stuck in that. Okay, so do try to use some common sense when looking at that. Sometimes toy manufacturers aren't always thinking about what's safe for the dog, and we'll put out things without a lot of forethought there. So, or the different sizes of dogs and what could happen. So please just be mindful of that. So that's what I'll have to say about our chew bones. I'll show a couple pictures of those and then we'll move on. I'm going to do a real quick talk on elk antlers, moose antlers, the antler style chews. These have gotten popular over the last few years. I'm not for them, I'm not opposed to them. I think it's one of those things that you have to look at your individual dog. If they're really chewing hard at this, if they're a power chewer, yes, there are dogs who have fractured their tooth. We want to avoid breaking teeth. If we can, this stuff happens. The same thing with some of your stronger Nylabones. This can happen, like your Galileo. Something you want to just be mindful and careful of, just simply because if your dog's really going at it and it is a more dense antler and they're not all the same, that could be something where your dog could injure their tooth. And obviously, once again, we don't want to have our dogs getting hurt with their toys. Okay, so I'm not opposed to them. Usually if you can see the white on the antlers, they're going to be a little bit softer, easier to work through and quicker, but watch, because a lot of these can get kind of sharp, things like that, as your dog files them down, like any of the other chew objects out there. The same thing if you want to check for density. Typically, if there's the enamel around it on the bone, it's going to be a little bit harder to chew. It's going to take longer to work at. And then the same thing, you can even like toss it in your hand, drop it on a table. You're going to notice a difference in the thud. It's going to tell you a little bit more how dense it is. So something to just kind of keep in mind. I'm going to go ahead and just move on from those. That there's not a whole lot more I have to offer on that. But I wanted to jump into Kongs and like our rubber kind of like treat toys. Kongs can be used as just a toy. I love them. I think they're great. They can also be used as kind of an enrichment thing where we fill them with peanut butter or something like that, or a training tool. Okay. Along that line, each Kong's different, so they have a lot of different varieties of products. The important thing to remember about any of your Kong products or similar products is often they're color coded. So you're going to have like pink and blue are going to be your softer ones. Typically you're going to have like your red one is going to be your pretty standard, but if you have a power chewer, you might want something like a black one. Of course, if your dog can break off chunks, this is no longer safe. And the same thing like we talked about with Nylabones, they will deteriorate and lose their structural integrity if they're left outside for long periods of time. I know I found some in the woods from my shepherd just recently, which that was years ago, and trust me, they would not hold up. They've become brittle. That rubber is not, just the same as you'd see like a serpentine belt on your car will start to wear down with the heat and stress over time. So those can get cracked and things like that. So don't leave them outside for long periods of time. They can also collect mold and things like that. So we want to make sure that we're cleaning them regularly, and especially if we're putting food in them, make sure you are washing that out because we don't want that to build harmful bacteria. But those can be wonderful self-play toys. There also can be interactive toys. And once again, they have a whole variety of different things. I'll show some pictures on those and we'll move on to the next subject. Obviously, there are a variety of other toys that I'm not going to show here just simply because there are so many out there. But these are good standards. Remember, a lot of time color-coded. There's usually information on the packaging about strength and what they can endure. And then just remember, most of these self-play toys are toys that really can withstand a lot of beating, and there's no parts that our dog could choke on. But please make sure that you're still monitoring and checking them, because they do wear down over time. I hope this has been helpful. We're going to go ahead and move on to our next video, where we're going to be covering enrichment toys. So if you want, you can jump forward on the list or pull up the next video, and that's going to cover enrichment toys.